very welcome to this Heritage Week talk on the work being undertaken by An Taisce in heritage preservation. My name is Sinead Owens. I am the Properties Lead for An Taisce, the National Trust for Ireland, and I take care of 16 properties entrusted to the organisation, while also working alongside heritage, advocacy, other An Taisce programmes, as well as external stakeholders. For nearly 6 years. I've been in this position for about a year and previously was operations manager. I'm also currently undertaking a master's degree in World Heritage Conservation and Management at UCD. The theme of this year's Heritage Week is exploring our foundations. So I'll firstly be taking a look at the history of An Taisce's involvement in heritage protection in the context of the overall Irish conservation system down through the decades, not going through each decade, but just a rough background. So to start, what is heritage? For those in the back, what are we celebrating and promoting? So according to the Oxford English Dictionary anyway, heritage is something that can be passed from one generation to the next, something that can be conserved or inherited, something that has historic or cultural value. And for every object of tangible heritage, i.e. Built, there is also a intangible heritage that wraps around it. The language we use to describe it, for example, its place in social practice or its religion, not just the design or the bricks and mortar, but its association with Irish identity or culture and history. You can also stand alone intangible heritage such as language or customs. Built and natural heritage, the distinction there is quite obvious. Built is the cultural heritage sites, archaeological sites, ruins, historic buildings. Natural heritage is most often thought about in terms of landscapes and ecological systems, comprised of features such as plants, animals, natural landscapes, oceans, water bodies. So just to give you a bit of background, the Irish context at the time that An Taisce was founded, post-independence and post-World War II, the priority of the Irish government was not heritage preservation at all, rather the building of new housing and infrastructure. Older buildings were associated with colonialism, not valued by the public or by the local authorities at all. Even in the mid-50s, buildings such as the Royal Hospital Kilmainham were in danger at one point of being knocked or developed. Rows of Georgian houses were being pulled down to make way for flats. So there was no real public awareness of the value of architectural heritage at the time. This photo is actually from Glasnevin Heritage, and anyone who's in the Dublin 7 area might recognise Animo Road. This is the corner of Animo Road and Animo Drive. And our poor little vernacular building still sitting there, and I don't know how long it lasted after that photograph was taken. And you can see corporation houses would have been around the 1930s or so, roughly. So this is a quote from one of our founders, Professor Frank Mitchell, and it reflects the concern felt at the time. The first meeting of people who wanted to form this kind of group was held in 1946, and the concern at the time that development would result in heritage. So you can see they had this holding body, the Association for Preservation of Places of Interest or Beauty in Ireland, which is a little bit of a mouthful, and they changed that to An Taisce eventually. Now, this is the meeting notice at the time, 1946. You can see it was a public meeting, so it was open to all. So you can see the type of names that were involved. These are people who were already active in other areas of Irish society. A lot of them are well-travelled and cultured, and they recognised from international incidents the threats of industrialisation to heritage. So, and you can see the types of names of people that supported. And, obviously, a lot of them were people who had the kind of heritage that needed to be protected, but it was really open to all. That heritage is for all, really, at the end of the day. So the first meeting of An Taisce was held in 1946, and it was incorporated as a charity in 19. The founding organisations, it was convened in the Royal Irish Academy, or in Mansion House actually. The other organisations were the Royal Society of Antiquaries, Onoiga, Geographical Society, Dublin Naturals Field Club, and Irish Society for Protection of Birds. As I said, Robert Lloyd Prager was the first president, and he did a radio address in 1948, which set out the aims of the organisation and their fears for the future. And it was a membership organisation, has been from the very beginning, and is open to all. This is just one of the sort of trouble, one of the aspects of the battles that had to be fought in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. So after An Taisce was set up in 1948, they were joined by the Irish Georgian Society, which was formed in 1958, which added another advocacy group to the mix. There was controversy over this row of Georgian houses in Fitzwilliam Street in 1965, which were pulled down to make way for a new ASB headquarters. Ironically, that development was replaced in the last decade by a much more aesthetically pleasing building. But the controversy of this architecture and its protection. However, in some Dáil exchanges at the time, the emphasis was placed on the fact that people who had lived in these houses were ordinary Irish families with Irish surnames. They were doctors and solicitors and just Irish people in Irish society that trying to get away from the British Association, the Colonial Association. So as you can see, during the whole initial period of the organisation's existence, there was a sort of uphill struggle to advocate for the protection of built heritage. The movement was seen as sort of elitist and out of touch, and not really in keeping with what was really worrying the public at the time. So moving on then, just today, our mission and vision. So our main mission is to protect and celebrate Ireland's natural and built environment for present and future generations. And that's important because heritage is for the future at the end of the day, even though it relates to the past. It's of value and needs to be protected to hand on to future generations. And then our vision, where our environment, natural and built, so again, keeping in with the theme of natural and built heritage, is actively prioritised and a lasting legacy of sustainability and resilience is ensured. So by the time early 1960s came around, An Taisce had developed quite an expertise in conservation and planning, and this was reflected in the new planning bill that was enacted in 1963. And it was a brand, first of its kind, really, which established protections for historic buildings. It gave An Taisce a prescribed role, which it retains to this day. An Taisce is the only prescribed body that does not rely on state funding for this function. So you can see what by being a prescribed body, you are referred on planning applications that may have a potential impact for developments that may have a potential impact on the environment, landscape, scenic community, archaeology, and you can see the whole wide range of different aspects that we need to look at in terms of planning applications. Take on the role of watchdog, as my colleague Elaine McGough repeats often. These are not laws according to An Taisce. We're simply pointing out when we do make submissions based on the Planning Act that of legislation that's already in place. And An Taisce's aim has always been to take sort of a long-term, unbiased view of the common good. Unfortunately, this viewpoint has not always been popular at the time, so we are drawn into controversies from time to time. You can see then these are other areas of the Planning Act, the planning referral system that we are involved in. County development plans, local area plans, amendment to development plans, additions to the record of protected structures, and Part 8 applications. So these are just some of the areas that referrals are made on. Much of An Taisce's work is unseen, and this is just to give you an example of where a submission has been made on a heritage building that has been to the good, and where the advice given has been taken on board, resulting in a much better building and a much better development. This is a hotel in South Great George Street in Dublin, and through the planning process, we made a submission, or Dublin City Planning Officer made a submission on the initial roof proposal for this hotel. Was a very contemporary style, sort of box dormer windows. And it was An Taisce's suggestion to go for more of a segment arched copes for the new dormers. And everyone was happy with that. And also there was similar to the chimneys. You can see the chimneys there on the background. They were originally meant to be taken out, but again, according for An Taisce recommended that they should be kept on for ventilation purposes. So not against modern design, can be very complementary to heritage buildings, but in some cases the most appropriate approach is to keep it in context with the overall Victorian building in this case. And we maintain that the traditional buildings and streetscapes should be maintained, as aesthetically close to the original as possible, I suppose. This is other work, heritage advocacy work then, that was done in 2024. Number one, architectural heritage. So we raised the issue of dereliction, which is an extremely important topic at the moment, especially in light of the housing crisis, and the endangerment of protected structures to county councils nationwide. So dereliction is a significant challenge at the moment. The Historic and Archaeological Heritage Act then, this was enacted in May 2024. And while it did introduce some updates to heritage protections, it really didn't align. Ireland signed up to the Valletta Convention in 1997 and still has not enacted crucial protections for integrity of archaeological landscapes and historic monuments. And we let it be known at the time that we were unhappy with the extent that this act had. Now, heritage at risk is one of our public raising awareness of the work that goes on around the country. This hashtag heritage at risk is used in nearly weekly social media posts by An Taisce, both on Instagram and Facebook and on other platforms as well. They've been drawing attention to derelict sites, whether the public has drawn attention to them or where they've been flagged to us. So either sites that are at risk themselves, but we're also very pleased to celebrate great examples of where reuse has been attained. So the first and second photographs there are of a coffee shop, I believe, in Harold's Cross in Dublin, where it has been sensitively restored and retained, and it's thankfully back in use to this day, and it makes so much more of a difference. And they didn't have to do too much to it, but it really made a difference then. On the right hand side then is a building in Offaly, I believe, that is at risk at the moment then as well. But this, as I said, these are weekly posts, and if you watch out for them on our social media, we will usually be highlighting both good and bad examples of heritage at risk. For many years, An Taisce has been producing and circulating its buildings at risk register. This list pinpoints the sites which are neglected all around the country and in need of repair. This list is created by volunteer observers and receives no funding, despite it being referred to by local authorities. And obviously we use it, as I said before, to highlight to councils themselves all these buildings that are at risk. Each year, the most urgent cases are highlighted. So you can see the website address there, and each year you can see what our buildings at risk are. As I say, we receive no funding for this. It is entirely created by volunteers. Now, to just give you a couple of examples of some of our properties in trust. So since being founded in 1948 under the model of the National Trust for Scotland, the aim of the organisation has been to take on properties at risk and ensure their survival. Cantor Castle, which this is, was originally under the protection of the National Trust for England, Wales, Northern Ireland. From 1902 onwards, and the leasehold was transferred to An Taisce in 1951, and the freehold was transferred in 2000. The castle is currently cared for in association with the OPW, so very thankful to them. And Cork County Council also take care of some land in the same area. It's literally just outside Canturg town. This is the Boyne Navigation. The Boyne Navigation is a system of canals that runs alongside the River Boyne in County Meath from Navan to Oldbridge. It was built to make the River Boyne more navigable. It was opened in 1800 to move goods up and down from Drogheda Port to Navan, to industries in Navan. It fell out of use fairly quickly, but it really fell out of use in the early 20th century and was acquired by An Taisce in 1969. Since then, the towpaths and the locks, some of the locks, have been maintained and restored through the efforts of a committee made up of the Meath Association of An Taisce and the Inland Waterways Association of Ireland, to whom we're extremely grateful. The pathways take you through some of the most idyllic landscape in Meath, absolutely beautiful area. And the proposed Boyne Greenway, which has been long in the works, the emerging preferred route looks like it will take in much of the existing towpath from Navan to Oldbridge, and it does lead to some exciting possibilities for promotion of the canal system, which is it's a very important part of our industrial heritage as well as our built and natural as well. So there you can see the photograph on the left is what's called the Oldbridge Sea Lock. And it's right beside the Battle of the Boyne site, actually, in Oldbridge, County Meath. And the other photograph then on the left-hand side is at a place called Fisherman's Wharf, and or Fisherman's Car Park, sorry, and Rowley's Lock, and looking down then towards Stackallan. Then there's an actual lovely walkway there, a couple of kilometres walkway that you can walk along from there. Babes Bridge is also in County Meath. It's actually adjacent to the Boyne Navigation. It dates from the 12th or 13th century and is one of the oldest stone bridges in Ireland. This is one arch of an original 11 arch. So there are 11 arches spanning the Boyne altogether. The land that Babes Bridge stands on belongs to An Taisce through its purchase of the Boyne navigation system. And in 2021, we were approved for funding to survey and stabilise the bridge. And this was done through the Community Monuments Fund in partnership with Meath County Council. This has been ongoing, the work has been ongoing for a number of years. The bridge was surveyed, underpinned and repointed, and you can see on the left-hand side after the work has taken place. Unfortunately, we were at the mercy of floods and river levels for a long time, so it took a while to actually get done, but you can see it was worth it just to stabilise it and ensure its survival for the next while. The bridge is an important part of the heritage of the Boyne Valley, and the greenway that I've already mentioned means many more visitors will be able to appreciate its beauty and its significance as well. Now, this is Taylor's Hall. So this is probably our flagship property, I suppose you could call it. So Taylor's Hall, just to give for history, who those who aren't familiar with An Taisce or are familiar with Taylor's Hall, was built in 1706, and it served as the guild hall for the tailors of Dublin. I've been doing tours of Taylor's Hall all weekend, so this might be on autopilot here. It was also the scene of the Back Lane Parliament in 1792, which was organised by Wolfe to petition King George to repeal the last of the penal laws. The Tailors Guild itself was disbanded in 1840 on the Parliamentary Reform Act. The hall continued then under various guises as a school, a mission house, and was owned eventually by the Legion of Mary. By the 1960s, this is what the photo on the left, this is what it looked like. If you can imagine, there had been houses on both sides, the front and the back. This is the front of the hall, of the front and the back of the hall. But once they were torn down, again, part of the development of inner city Dublin, suddenly the hall sort of rose up out of nowhere. A campaign started then, a private campaign, again going back to the lack of government support, the lack of government funding for any kind of heritage restoration in those days. The Honourable Desmond Guinness and Ansha McGowan were the instigators of this, along with members of the Old Dublin Society, Georgian Society, and An Taisce then as well, because obviously there's a huge crossover there for all these heritage organisations, and all these people are all a lot of them would belong to 2 or 3 different organisations, really, at the end of the day. A campaign started then in the 60s to raise funds to restore it back to its former glory. The Taylor's Hall Restoration Fund raised money privately to conserve the building, and this is the photo on the right, is really what it looked like after restoration. In 1984, An Taisce took over the lease for the hall and made it their head office. Since then, there was further conservation work, most notably in 1989, when it won the Europa Nostra Award for Excellence in Conservation. And there was also a small kitchen extension added to the basement then as well. Today, the building is open for private events. It's also made available to the community for various festivals and events. And at An Taisce, we're very proud to see this great building. It's one of the oldest and largest public spaces in Dublin, still in constant use and at the heart of the liberties and community events. Most recently, it was opened for not just Heritage Week, but in July it was open for the Liberties Festival, and in May it was open for Culture Date and Dublin 8 Festival, and it will be open again on Culture Night then as well. And we just love showing it off, and we want to make this more and more available as time goes on to the community, and let them use it then. So now getting onto natural sites then, this is Bog. Bog was transferred by Bord na Móna in 1989. It's an important raised bog and wetland area, and it has many, many, many designations. It is a Ramsar wetland site. It's a national nature reserve, special area conservation, special protected area for birds, and there are just a few of them. It's one of 12 raised bog habitats, which had some active work done there in 2016 as part of an EU LIFE programme, and it was done to restore and enhance the bog. Most recently, we have partnered with Breeding Waders, EIP. They have their logo down there, and they have taken this site and are also working with farmers all along the Shannon Callows as a site to encourage breeding and protection of important bird species such as curlew, redshank, and snipe. And this will both improve habitats and raise awareness in the local area the importance of the bog as a specially protected site. So Breeding Waders then, They will have their own education program around it. They will be, looking to go into schools as well. And we're very much looking forward to working with them on any kinds of educational programs or any kinds of promotion around this very, very important habitat enhancement program. From raised bogs to blanket bogs, this is Slieve Bay, and Slieve Bay is in County Monaghan. Was on the County Monaghan-Tyrone border. It straddles both sides of the border. And it was donated in 2021 by Lord Paddy Rossmore and consists of about 3,000 acres of heathland and blanket bog. The area is a very important one for nature. It's previously hosted a Can Natura Hen Harrier project. It's also a blue dot area for water quality. The lake you can see on the left-hand photograph is Lake Contror, which is supplies over 700 households in the area with water through the Tadavnet Group Water Scheme. So we're very pleased that the water is of such quality. Most recently, again, the Peace Plus Nature Project has just been announced, and this was instigated by the Royal Society for Protection of Birds in Northern Ireland and is part of the special Peace Plus programme. And altogether, it is worth 20 million euros and covers 22 different sites, of which Slieve Bay is one of them. And it will restore priority habitats, in this case, upland blanket bog, and will restore priority species such as curlews, redshanks, Hen Harriers, across approximately, as I said, 22 sites in Northern Ireland and border counties. And there will be many stakeholders where the landowner in this case, the River Blackwater Trust is taking, and the Trua Spirit community group in County Monaghan are both taking the lead on the local peatlands restoration action, and we're working very closely with them to ensure that they have everything they need to get that done. So again, it's just a really, really important work in a very, very important site then as well. One of the other, as well as peatland restoration, there will also be an investigation into the extent of continued turf cutting through the exercise of old turbary rights. So there's a lot of old agreements, ancient agreements actually, where people are still cutting turf up there. Now, obviously, we have an industrial scale illegal cutting going on, which is being dealt with as well. But this is just families who have always had these sites. So there will be a survey done of those to see who is acting on these turbary rights. Do they still want to do that? Why did they want to do that? Is there some scheme that can be put in place then to perhaps reduce cutting in the area then in the longer term? So the overall aim of the project then is to bring diverse groups together on a cross-community and cross-border basis and allow better understanding and appreciation for biodiversity, nature restoration and species recovery. So we're very, very proud to be part of that then as well. And finally, this is our final property then. This is Booterstown Marsh, again a natural property. Although it was sort of formed out of industrial activity, I suppose, it was formed by the construction of the Dublin to Dún Laoghaire railway line, the first commuter line in the world, apparently, in 1834, 1835. The wall resulted in a tidal lagoon, if you can imagine, but it did infill over in the 19th century and left this just Booterstown Marsh at the high tide level. It's part of the Dublin Bay biosphere. It is the only remaining salt marsh in the south shore of Dublin Bay, and it provides environmental awareness immunity in an urban setting. It's the only bird sanctuary in South Dublin Bay, and it's an important feeding and roosting area for ducks, geese, and waders. It's also an essential refueling and resting spot for migrating birds and provides main habitats, freshwater, saltwater, for brent geese, moorhens, again, oyster catchers, various birds then as well. What I really want to draw attention to in relation to Booterstown Marsh is the excellent support provided by the An Taisce Dunleary Local Association in taking care of the marsh. There's regular cleanups in association with An Taisce Clean Coasts programme, as well as corporate events, research programmes, open days, and it's really an excellent example of community-led heritage engagement, and really something we would aim for in relation to most of our properties where possible. So future plans then for properties and heritage. Collaboration obviously is one of them. It has been, and as you can see from the various examples I've given you, it's the key to success really for projects to enhance heritage properties. They provide access to expertise, funds, most importantly leads to the improvement of the habitat of the building and ensures its survival. We're currently partnering, as we say, with bird breeding programs, peatland restoration programs, national parks and wildlife, and for our schools, as well as our own An Taisce programs. And it's really wonderful to be able to provide a space on our sites for workshops, community engagement. Funding for projects then, we continue to seek funding both for public, private, for restoration and enhancement projects. Community-led heritage engagement. So our properties are all over the country, and we've been lucky to avail of the time and expertise of local An Taisce members in overseeing the management of the sites. And we would look to set up new groups for those sites that do not already have local oversight, as well as succession planning in areas where existing caretakers are, it's too few of them or they're getting older. And it's really our belief that a community is really in the best position to determine the future of its own heritage. And while An Taisce is happy to provide support, oversight, the local group, a cross section of people who are interested in heritage in a local area, they can raise awareness of the heritage on their doorstep, and they can also link in with other similar groups in a system of mutual support then as well. New acquisitions, I'll talk about that on the next page then. So a number of years ago, we made the acquaintance of the 1772 Foundation, Mary Anthony in particular. I believe she's here in the audience. Hello, Mary. So by way of background to the 1772 Foundation, their mission, they're based in the US, their mission centres on historic building preservation and farmland conservation. And their primary focus up to now has been in the US, but they're now expanding to the Ireland through a partnership with An Taisce. And together we're developing a historic properties redevelopment program. It's modelled on programs that they have already supported across the US, so they are the experts. This approach encourages non-profit preservation organisations to act as developers of last resort, acquiring endangered historic properties, restoring them, and returning to appropriate public or private use. This means that An Taisce will again become involved in direct preservation, identifying buildings in need of rescue and putting them back into use, either as housing or for the community, not necessarily keeping them all in trust, but making use of them and giving it back to people and giving them a second life. We very much look forward to getting this programme off the ground. So for anyone who's not already involved in An Taisce, what can you do? Look around. What buildings, sites do you see that are at risk? Let us know about them. What heritage groups can you get involved with? And how can you help, basically? Buildings at risk, as I say, we very much rely on volunteers, volunteer observers to send us information. If they know the owners of the building at risk, all the better then as well. And we are always very pleased to get help in compiling that. Join An Taisce. We always have been a membership organisation. The more of us there are, the better the more stronger our voice is. So it's very easy to join An Taisce through our website, and One of the advantages of being a member of An Taisce, just one of the perks, is that you are able to, you have free entry into other National Trust properties as part of an international reciprocal agreement, other nationals across the world. If you join An Taisce, then you are more than welcome to get involved in your local An Taisce association, if there is one. Or if you are a few of you, you can set up a brand new one. We are very much interested in starting up brand new associations or restarting ones that have fallen by the wayside in the last couple of years. Because, as I said, really we believe that the communities are in the best place to do this work as well. Contact your local representatives, that's self-explanatory. They will be to draw attention to, as I said, heritage at risk, building at risk in your area, and the work of An Taisce and trying to protect heritage in your area. And finally, if you have a property or a heritage site or building that you are concerned about and want to pass on to an organisation who will take care of it, then you can leave a property to An Taisce in your will, or you can also leave a donation to An Taisce in your will, because we do not receive funding. I think I said this in the planning section. We are the only, we do all this advocacy and properties work. We have no regular source of funding for this work. We rely very much on membership and donations to be able to do this work. Otherwise, it's just a project by project basis then as well. Now, thank you all very, very much for your time. If there are any questions, I'm very happy to take them then as well.